Is the manual gearbox dying? Automatic transmissions have come a long way. Long gone are the days when you had to heavily compromise both performance and economy for the convenience of not having to shift gears. These days, they are often both more efficient and also much faster than manuals. Not always though, as I found out while making this video. I'll clarify what I mean at the end. Hybrids have since long integrated eCVTs for seamless transitions between propulsions, and electric cars basically don't even need transmissions at all. So why is there still a demand for manual transmissions? Apparently so much so that Hyundai even started simulating them on new electric performance cars, where they are both completely unnecessary and even a liability from a practical standpoint. Full disclosure, I drive a manual, but I have never bought a new car. In fact, I've never bought any car less than 8 years old. My current car is from 2016 and there are plenty of options for good and efficient automatics from that era, but I actively dismissed them when I was comparing cars. Why? Because I have since long decided that as long as I drive a car without an electric powertrain, that I will stick to manuals. I'm by no means an enthusiast. My car is mostly about practicality, but I still prefer an involved driving feel and being in control. I especially like that I have a quite long 6th gear so I can cruise at low RPMs in highway speeds. Honda also didn't offer an automatic with the diesel, so there's that. Still, I don't even mind driving automatics, hybrids or electric cars. I have for the past 6 years driven a lot of automatics for work, and that's fine. Work is work and work should always be made as easy as possible. There are a few disadvantages, even with modern automatics. I have noticed that some so-called intelligent transmissions still sometimes lug the engine with way too low revs. They also tend to rev way past the optimal power band, especially with diesels, so you just end up burning more fuel for extra noise. You'd think a modern Mercedes transmission with 9 gears would be smart enough to stay in the optimal power band most of the time, but apparently not. There is usually also a significant delay to throttle response, especially when the transmission decides to shift down when you press hard on the accelerator. You can still have some control over shifting with either paddles or simply by adjusting your accelerator, but it will never be as predictable as a proper manual transmission. Modern systems also adapt to your driving style, which is all well and good, except for when one car is shared with multiple drivers, like for work. Then the behavior is all over the place, depending on who's driven it before you. I've noticed this with modern Mercedes, but we already had this back a couple of decades ago with my parents' company van. Now let me take you back to the dark ages, when there were even worse options than today. My parents had a 2006 Iveco Daily with a nice torquey 3-liter engine, but the worst transmission I've ever used. Not a true automatic, but an automated manual gearbox, sometimes referred to as a robotic transmission. Basically the worst of both worlds. Driving it was fine as long as you're the only driver, but as soon as somebody else drove it in between, the behavior changed and it would rev way higher before shifting, so it felt really unpredictable and uneconomical. That was not the worst issue though. If you had to get over obstacles like curbs at low speeds, you had to press the accelerator pretty hard and have the other foot ready on the brake, because as soon as you got the revs high enough, it would just shoot over the obstacle like a rocket. I also had a couple of dangerous situations in intersections where, when I had slowed down to assess the traffic, saw an opportunity to go, so I pressed the accelerator hard, only for the van to jump ahead a few meters and turn the engine off. Apparently it was still in 2nd gear and dumped the clutch way too hard, so the engine just cut out. I found myself drifting in the middle of an intersection and had to stop completely because you had to be stopped and press the brake to get it going again. Great times. In 2014, when they bought a new Fiat van to replace the old one, there were still no automatics as options, so I insisted they just got a manual transmission instead and not another one of these half-assed automatic gearboxes. Luckily, manufacturers seem to have gotten rid of these a while ago. This was also not a van-only issue. Plenty of regular cars were also available with these half-assed gearboxes in basic trim levels. If you wanted a true automatic, you had to pay extra. I tried a Peugeot 508 with one, and it was also horrible and lazy. Automatic transmissions used to be a price premium, but nowadays it's more or less the default. BMW apparently only has manual transmissions available on more expensive M models, and Toyota only on the GR Yaris. Toyota's cheapest models are all hybrids with eCVTs. Hyundai and Kia, on the other hand, offer a couple of models with 5 or 6 speed transmissions, but only with the cheapest engine options. I think the Kia Picanto is the cheapest one, so let's explore. So the automatic is a bit over €1,000 more than the manual, which is not exactly pocket change. Let's review the specifications. This is one of the few I've found that actually has the same engines for different gearbox options. Let's put the manuals in yellow and the automatics in green. The manuals ironically seem just a bit more economical and green. There's a huge hit in 0 to 100 kph acceleration. Yeah, seems pretty hard to recommend a cheap automatic. Let's go up in price class. Can't compare a Golf because the automatic is a mild hybrid, but at least you can still have a manual, so that's positive. The same for the Seat Leon and the Skoda Octavia. And then, the Skoda Scala. Almost a €2,000 premium for an automatic, so definitely not free. There are 2 comparable engine options with 6-speed manual and 7-speed DSG automatics. The weight differences are not huge, just about 10 to 19 kilograms. For some reason the DSG performs worse than the manual with the 1 liter, but with the 1.5 it's much closer and in some cases even reversed. This is weird to me. The more power you have, the better it is to have an automatic apparently. Even more evident when we move way higher up the performance and price range. The BMW M2. The automatic is actually just a notch cheaper than the manual. It's also better in every metric. Better economy, better emissions, better performance. All of the numbers I've shown here are from the manufacturer's own websites. I do remember looking at the consumption figures back in 2016 when my parents bought their BMW 520d. I remember Volkswagen and Audi had worse figures with their DSG automatics compared to the manuals, at least regarding fuel economy. But BMW actually had lower consumption for the automatics already back then. Apparently they are just ahead of the game. So, would I buy an automatic? Probably not. If I had the money to burn on a sports car, it would just be a sacrilege not to have a manual. I am also fairly certain that my next car will be electric, but that is hopefully many years away. I will most likely just drive my sheepish Civic till it dies. If you find my content interesting, please consider subscribing. Take care. I will most likely just drive my cheapest Civic. I will most likely just draw my cheapest I cannot say cheapish Civic. Let's try again.